Hey, how's everybody doing? Sorry for being late. Um, it's kind of one of my normal things by now. But yes, now for today's discussion, we're talking about know your zone. And when I say know your zone, I'm talking about your grow zones. Different areas across the map of the United States or wherever you may be. But for now, for basic sake, we're going to go ahead and stick to North America. But there are numerous grow zones. Now, for this, I want people to understand what grow zones are, why they're so important, and kind of the essentials to the grow zones. Grow zones are areas and locations. The majority of the United States, you can find maps like the one posted up now, and you'll find general areas and locations. Now, for each person in here, if you could, post and go ahead and type in your grow zone. The reason why I ask this is due to the fact that it doesn't just break down into the numbers that you see. You have A zones and B zones. Now, for this, you'll begin to understand. There we go. Opie got it. Oh, number 9. Okay. See, now by understanding these zones, you'll understand so much more. Okay, we got 8 in there. Let's see where everybody from. Go ahead, throw your grow zone up there and just keep them rolling. Wonderful that people are actually looking at their grow zone. So now that people are analyzing and looking at their grow zone, they're going to start understanding what can be grown in these areas. That is something that is very important. Me and Opie Mija are in 6A. Now that one, pretty decent grow zone. But understanding your areas, what can be grown, now that's very important. Because some people in the South have better grow zones all year around, depending on the heat and cool and how a grow zone is actually, when they look at grow zones are generally like the hardiness of the area. It'll tell you what particular plants are rated, and it's more of a guide. So I'm not going to say when you look at your grow zone and the hardiness of the grow zone, you are literally going to be guaranteed that those plants will grow. It's kind of a guesstimate. So when you look at them, you look at, say, for instance, we don't have many people in zone 1 because, of course, that's in Canada. So you look at zone 1, that will get -50. You'll learn when to plant, what to plant, how deep to sow. This is very important because if you plant at the wrong time, you're most likely to either A, kill your plants, or B, you're going to go ahead and frost them out, plant them too early, make them mature too fast. Plants have a maturity time. Because these plants have a maturity time, you have to know when to plant and how to plant. So we're going to go and we'll start in zone 3. Zone 3 you'll find is up in the top purplish area. I'm not going to touch on zone 2 very frequently because we have very little people from zone 2. Now, zone 2, you'll find your different types of trees. Generally, like a foxglove. I know they grow a lot of wood ferns up there. Hydrangeas are pretty good. Goldenrod, that one's a decent one too. But you want to start planting in mid-May. if you're going to be in a zone 3. Now we're going to have to get into the vegetation, because in these zones, and I'm telling you this not only for bug out purposes or SHTF purposes, just understanding, learning, and gaining knowledge on these. And I can't stress how important it is, only because some things cannot grow in certain areas, certain climates. What we'll do is we'll get into the grow zones, but first I do want to introduce, of course, Kurimeo Ahu. Would you have anything to say, sir?
No, just it's a great build. Thanks for having me on as always. And peace to everybody in the chat, listening in, tuning in later on. How well blessed.
And we also have Opie Mihai in here today.
Petawasta. Oh yeah. Okay. And Petawasta, my brothers on the panel, and Petawasta to everyone in the chat. Appreciate you having me on here. Thank you.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Well, once again, what we're going to do today is we really have to. Oh, wow. You used to live in Alaska. Okay, yeah, cold zone. Can't do that. Most of them foods got to be imported. Now, what we want to look at is what you can generally grow in these areas, what time to grow, and I can't go zone by zone. That is going to strictly be on you. You're going to have to look at your zone, look at what you're growing, look at the times, when to plant. Generally, whenever you buy seeds, you can look up the seed you're buying, whether it be corn or bean sprout, eggplant, whatever it is. Figure out your grow zone and it will have a grow time for you. That's why you deal with up north. When you deal with zones 1 and 2, say for instance, they're normally good with leafy foliage. You'll find lettuce, kale, collards, broccoli, eggplant, squash. But their season is actually pretty short. It's generally between April and September. That's your 1 and 2 grow zones. So you can grow things in 1 and 2, but we generally don't have much of that up here. Now, the 3-4 zone is still a little up north, but your 3-4 zone is a little further out, April to October. It only gives you an extra month, but anything can grow really in those areas, northern wise. Vine tomatoes, lettuce, kale, broccoli, grow a lot of asparagus, spinach. You can even do a lot of strawberries up here. Sweet peas, beans, winter squash, all different types of tomatoes. But you have to watch the frost. The frost time is what'll get you every time. Not many people think about the first date of frost. Every now and then it'll change, but up north, you know, down south, you guys got to worry about the dry season. Once it gets too dry, it'll start to damage your plants. It'll burn your plants. It'll, you know, destroy. So once again, keep learning and educating yourself on the different plant types. 5 and 6, that's my range. Now we can grow a little bit of everything, but ours is from March to October. Tomatoes, corn, squash, melons, beans. We grow all types of lettuce. We grow a bunch of greens too. And the greens will normally keep going until October, sometimes even November. It just varies when that frost hits. Now, I know that Brother Opie Mihai, he is up here too in zone 6 where I'm at. Do you have anything specific that you grow?
I'm sorry, no, repeat the question. My bad, bro.
Oh, you all good. I was just asking, being up here with, you know, us in a 6A, what do you prefer to grow up here? What have you seemed to have general luck with in our climate?
I know that this year I did tomatoes did really well. Um, the pepper plants usually do pretty well. They did good for me. Previous years, lettuce did well, squash. So those types of plants did really well for me the past few years up here. And then I was going to say too, this year I was even lucky enough to grow some different herbs that my first time growing. So I did some red garnet and different things like that that did well. But they more or less started to bloom and grow. I would say maybe September time frame. September, October is when they really started to grow. So kind of like later in the growing season.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Because over here, man, I was growing corn, a little bit of everything: broccoli, collards, kale, just whatever I really had space for. And the melons didn't do too bad. The honeydew, now that one, it grew real well, but it didn't ripen as well as I would have hoped at the time. But ultimately, not bad. And then I grew sugar baby watermelons and Brussels sprouts, being one of my general favorites to grow. Mayo. Now we saw the greenhouse, saw your garden, everything that you were putting out there.
Yeah.
What are you growing out that way?
Well, Costa Rica is a little bit different. We have a lot of, as it says here, microclimates of Costa Rica, meaning that we have all kinds of different weather and elevation, fruits that go in different zones. Like, we plant certain things lower in the coast if we want to get abundance of that fruit. Let's see, like in general, if you go lower, the hotter places, you can get like avocados, mangoes, pineapples, papayas. When you get to the higher elevations, which is colder, potatoes, strawberries, and everything else, kind of tomatoes. I mean, where I live is right in the valley in the middle. Let me see if there's any good ones. Like right here, San Jose is right in the middle. So it's just like a valley. It's very high, and I basically try to grow as much as I can. Some people told me I couldn't grow specific fruits, but I did. They flowered. I probably have more luck somewhere else. Oh, sorry about that. Probably easier. I noticed that they grow potatoes a lot in the colder areas, though, like all those broccoli, cauliflowers. When I go to the Caribbean side, I see abundance of banana fields. Dole banana and Chiquita banana is most of it's coming from Costa Rica. When you go to a supermarket and buy that, you'll see the sticker says Costa Rica, Colombia, Ecuador, and that's all on the Caribbean side over here, mostly. I mean, you can find it on the other side too, but it's so tropical and rainy on this side, and I guess they like the rain. So pineapples as well, sugar cane, and yeah, it's just like that. It's different microclimates, so it depends where you're at in Costa Rica. But in general, it's not gonna get like really cold like in the States. It might drop. The tallest peak might drop to 30 degrees. The tallest peak where I stay at is about 60s, from 60s to 80s, almost all year round. So in between that, so that's in the valley, like California weather. So it depends, I guess.
Yeah, you can generally grow a plethora of fruit. I guarantee the soil down there isn't as bad as what we have up here, only due to the fact that a lot of our soil's been kind of destroyed. I'm not gonna lie.
No, it's not actually. It's really good. Almost everything grows here. Like I can go in my yard and grow almost anything. I believe. I also believe it's all about frequency and energy, and just taking care of the trees, like with fertilizers, good fertilizers. Show them a lot of love. Um, Knowing when to trim them and cut them. There's also old ways that we do things, like my grandfather and everything. It's just a spiritual connection you have with the plants and the trees, and know when to cut things in the full moon and in the new moon, and just all that kind of stuff. That also it's indigenous, teachings that we carry on, and so that's why I say I believe I can grow almost anything where I live. So even banana. I mean, I got bananas, and it's supposed to only, it's a Caribbean thing, with the beaches. But I got bananas growing. We brought some of those trees over to my yard, and they're doing fine.
Oh yeah, man. When you talk about that, as far as like connecting, being able to understand your plants, being able to not necessarily speak, but you can feel the energies off of them.
Yeah.
And that's another thing when dealing with grow zones and microclimates and climates in different areas, is being able to understand the needs of your plants. That's why knowing and understanding those areas is so important, not just for your time to plant, but the nutrients that are needed during certain times. If it's going to get cold, what type of amendments you need to put to your soil. Like your soil down there is, I know it's phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, we got also a lot of volcanoes here, so, and just the weather, the foliage is always falling. Even the leaves itself, it's fertilizer for the soil, so it's constant. Constant.
And generally up here, as Opie Mija can tell you, we get a lot of clay. Like a lot of our ground up here in zone 6 tends to be clay, red clay actually.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
above ground bed are good. Oh, go ahead, Opie.
No, I think that was good, man.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, we got, like, actually, it's not like everywhere perfect. Most of the country is, some areas are too rainy. You can't grow in, just like in the rainforest. Some areas you can't just grow. You got to make the fertilize. We get the clay too in areas, in mud. So it depends, but most in general, it's pretty good.
Yeah, up here we have to do, I'm not going to say a lot of amendments, but because of the land and the clay that was moved and building a lot of the basements, you'll find the areas around your house normally have a lot of clay. So generally putting sphagnum mulch, straw, hay. Of course, I raise chickens, so I take the shavings and the waste and I amend it in the soil during the winter. Sand, because you want proper aeration in your soil. So putting a little bit of extra sand up here and something that's heavy clay so it doesn't suffocate the roots. That is very important. And to be honest, I believe that generally does help out. People in other grow zones, I haven't been too far as down south, and I've seen the vegetation, I've viewed, but I've never actually had the privilege of going down there and raising a garden. So I wouldn't necessarily know what amendments they need or if they need many, but heading down there. And the reason why I bring this up is I do want people to educate themselves and learn what they can so they can eventually learn how to grow things and become more self-sufficient. When to plant, when not to plant, what can grow, because nothing is worse than trial and error. And believe me, I've killed a lot of plants. I'm not going to lie.
Yep.
Same here.
Everybody has. Man, I swear to goodness, it takes a while to actually be able to have a green thumb. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I agree. It does.
Yeah, for some people, it takes a lot of practice. Some people have it naturally. It depends, but yeah, it takes a lot of practice, even when you got a little green thumb, because you learn tricks, you learn just from experience, from connecting, from watching the different plants. They all react different. So, yeah, you can gain a lot from just learning, and planting.
Yeah, and you definitely want to be consistent at it, and try to, once you do it, continue to do it each year.
Yes. Oh, and remember, if you have the availability, let the soil rest. We are not the only things that need rest. The soil has to rest every 7 years. That's why you generally notice farmers will farm 6 years on the same land, and the seventh year they let it rest, because every time you grow plants and crops, even amending the soil and putting things back into the soil, you will generally strip the soil of some of the nutrients. So you have to constantly fertilize, and the things that die in the garden, let them dry out and go ahead and till them into the soil. That adds, I mean, it works wonders.
Yeah, absolutely.
Eggshells. Eggshells are a huge thing you could put into your soil that adds calcium, and also is good for slugs. If you have a problem with slugs or creepy, crawly, slimy things going into your garden, you can crush up eggshells and put it around your plants. That'll generally tend to keep them off. And as the eggshells biodegrade, they turn into calcium for the plant, which is actually highly needed. And it puts magnesium and phosphorus into the soil, which helps balance your soil out for better growing. It's cheaper than buying that expensive stuff, but ultimately being able to make your own soil is a big thing. If you don't have really good soil, that one helps also. So, Cody Mail, do you have to amend much of your soil down there in the South?
Well, again, it
Well,
depends on
far
the area
South.
you're in. Where my yard, well, my area is pretty good with the soil. I do it anyways. I'm constantly, putting egg yolks. I mean, egg, shells and all that. Banana, anything organic. Anything organic really. We dig up holes, and instead of throwing it away, we'll dig up a hole maybe near a tree or something and we'll fill it up for a whole season, a couple months, and then you bury that hole, and then and you forget about it, and it becomes compost, and so we create our own, natural. I mean, I try not to use chemicals basically. I don't really like using chemicals unless I see something that's really bad, or the tree needs a lot of help for some reason. But most of the time, the dirt is pretty good on its own. Just gotta try to keep the bugs away. That's what's something you gotta fight off a lot in Costa Rica. I mean, we're in the rainforest. Even if you're in the city, they're all over the place. We got all kinds of insects, birds. I mean, that's one thing I can't really get rid of. The birds. They love my tangerines. Uh, you'll see little holes on my tangerines all the time. So it gives so much that I'm able to get tangerines still. But and I don't mind that. I kind of like and love that the birds come and feed in my yard. So it's pretty cool.
Well, that was another thing I was taught growing up, is if you're going to grow not for you, but grow for the animals, because then you guys can kind of live in peace. They'll only eat so much, and that leaves enough for you to eat. Um,
Yeah.
Now, getting into composting. Now, composting that's real big also. Composting, people wonder why the soil is the way it is, only because one, the lack of animals, and of course their waste, and two, the fact that the majority of animals, after they eat certain foods, things get dumped on the ground and it gets brought into the soil. So over years and years of lack of animals, lack of proper nutrients, lack of growth, the soil gets damaged. That's why we have to amend so much soil. And that's why here specifically, and just around the world, we have to get back to being at peace and understanding the give and take, knowing the soil, learning the trees, learning the vegetables, the animals. People forget about the balance. And yeah, Red Lion, actually, I'm big on that, because we have a gas furnace, but we don't use it only because we haven't had to. We really use wood burning stuff. So once we burn the wood, we take the ash out. I take it and I put it to the side. Half of it gets used for my chickens because not half, but a portion of it gets used for the chickens, mixing it with sand so they can have their own little dust baths. And then the other half of it actually gets dumped into the garden. And when I end up dumping that into the garden, man, putting that into the soil, and because it's completely sterile since it's been burned, absolutely phenomenal. Now, if anyone does have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, because this time I can partially pay attention. So, kind of forgive me. But there are people in here in the chat, and we have to be able to help each other and learn from each other about gardening, about doing things organically, getting back to nature and not so far away from nature, being able to sit down and talk to each other and gain an understanding, because we don't know how long the system's going to be around. I tell everyone that, but if you're going to get on a barter system, find your niche. So with the videos I'm doing and the conversations I'm doing, kind of trying to help people find their niche. Certain people know how to sew, certain people know how to plant crops, certain people have a green thumb, certain people know medical field, they know so many different things and aspects of survival. So being able to actually get together and learn from each other and pass things down to the younger generation. I generally do the stories, but lately I've been getting into prepping, not getting into, but doing videos on prepping. I've been doing this for a while, so I've kind of gotten used to it. But those around kind of got to prepare to return to the old ways. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's better to be prepared, because we never truly know what's going to happen. I know I always kind of dip into that conversation only because people have become so secure with going to the grocery store. They become very secure with buying their foods and going in and getting everything with GMOs, going in and getting contaminated food, things that are grown with toxic water, things that aren't necessarily good for you, genetically modified, things with GMOs, starting seeds, being able to plant. It kind of jumps around, and that is a big portion of the reason I'm starting to do more lives, so people can ask questions about how to survive, what to do, and how to get back, because we can't rely on this just-in-time system that the stores have. So, continue to educate and grow and learn and begin to do things generally that'll help you out as far as learning who you are, because a lot of gardening and a lot of planting will show you who you truly are, the energy you put out. And there's no need to be anxious, trust me, but it's kind of in the times that we're in right now, it's more or less, it seems to be natural. Anxiety is at an all-time high right now. No one knows what's going to happen, and so many people are completely, there's no security in tomorrow. So that's why it's very important to learn and come together as communities. And each individual person starts setting up prepper communities, or at least seed trades. Opie Mihai has a wonderful plan that he actually wanted to introduce. My brother, did you want to mention a little bit on it?
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. So I came up with a, since we have been talking about, planting, different things like that, that we could, for like-minded people, anyone that was interested in, planting and different things like that, maybe starting up a seed trade program where we could, since we're talking about grow zones, and everybody seems like they're starting to become familiar with what their grow zone is. Like Anu was saying, there are things that grow here in Ohio that may not grow, in South Carolina, and vice versa. So I thought it'd be a good idea to, get emails of people who are interested in this and doing like Zoom call meetings to where we can get, seeds out to each other. And, even if you're somebody who doesn't have, this is your first time kind of getting into this, we can get seeds out, to people who want to start planting and being self-sufficient, growing your own food because, like you said, um, we don't have much more time to keep waiting on this. Um, I say that quite a bit because I think, a lot of us just kind of say, well, I'll do it next year. And then that year comes around and then, I'll do it next year. And then, you've putting it off so long when you could have, gotten to it. You're getting into the gardening and different things like that. So, I mean, I know here in Columbus, I'm about, all about throughout the city. And, I see the people with, their yards and they're growing all kinds of things. Both you and Kuda Mayo have been a big inspiration on, with planting and the different things that you guys are doing. So I encourage everybody, email me, please. And what I'll do is I'm putting it together and I will contact you and send you the email when we're going to do the live Zoom meetings. And, we'll get in there and see where we need to send seeds. And, this doesn't cost anything. So, I mean, it's free for you to come and listen in and, get some knowledge on how to grow, what seeds you need and don't need. And yeah, we'll do that. Do it like that. Appreciate it, bro.
Oh, no problem. It's a wonderful plan in order for people to be able to prepare and learn. We really have to get together, and that's just my opinion. Now, understanding and learning every day, it's something we do, and being able to share and communicate with each other through gardening and being able to share, prepare the soil. There's so much in that. Also, it's an outlet, and it's exchanging of energy. Spiritually, physically, emotionally, it helps to do so much. It's a full body workout. It's phenomenal for just the energy exchange back and forth, especially if you do like I do, garden barefooted. It's just my preference. I don't recommend that for everybody, but I personally, most of the time I garden barefooted, depending on what tool I'm using, because, not being funny, I like having on my toes. So generally try not to do that one. But just exchanging energy and exchanging what would be considered what feels like life force. Getting out, and somebody was saying they talk to their plants. I know people who sing to their plants. Individuals who... Oh yeah, many people do. There are people who sit, relax, and actually just vent to their plants. Not the negative parts all the time, but understanding that energy does exchange. That is... It's real.
I recommend it.
Oh, definitely, man. You got to remember, plants, you can talk to plants and plants don't talk back. They listen and they don't have much advice to give you except for they're there. So, sounds a little crazy, but your plants and animals, everything can understand you, your energy, your aura, your exchange of energies, your positive and negative vibes. And sometimes gardening can be some of the greatest, it's one of the greatest escapes. I've seen people who are not at peace garden and be at complete tranquility, sitting around and looking at the work that their hands produced, tilling the soil, planting the seeds, raising it up from a seed.
And I was gonna say too, and like, how proud does that make you when you see that you grew your own food? Like, it's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
Oh
Yep.
yeah,
And
man.
eating it, reaping the fruits is the best thing.
Yeah, and being able to know that your hard work and your energy went into it, and it's well worth it. It's absolutely phenomenal. I can't explain how I feel when I'm gardening, just because it's not it's at peace. I get in the gardens and my chickens will be, pecking through them, and it just gives me a feeling of peace being out there. Sometimes I cut on music, and sometimes just the music that's in nature. It kind of guides my soul while I'm out there enjoying and relaxing. It may seem like work, but I don't. It's hard to explain. How would you guys explain it?
I would
To
say,
me, oh, go ahead.
no, you good, Kuda, man. Go ahead. I'll go after you.
No, I was gonna say, to me, it's just like you're saying. It helps me uh, release my stress, helps my anxiety if I get any. Feels like I'm being productive. Makes me feel like I'm actually doing something for myself, and then eventually it's gonna reward me. Overall, it's a great feeling for me. Um, I mean, I grew up in Boston, so I was, I guess, in Zone 6 for in the summer, but that was for a couple months. I didn't really have a backyard like that, so just coming over to Costa Rica and being able to do it, it's an awesome feeling for me. Yeah, I can't. It's like Canoe said, it's hard to explain, but it's a very enjoyable feeling.
Absolutely. And then, for me, I was gonna say, a lot of us have seen, by coming into, the knowledge that we've come into, that a lot of our ancestors were farmers,
Yep.
or planters, so they had plantations. But, what I would tell people is, this is something that you can get the family involved in. This is a great thing for your children to learn how to do, because everything we've been telling you guys and that we're doing is for the next generation. So just keep that in mind when you're out there planting and doing your thing. You're doing it for your children, your grandchildren, and all your ancestors to come.
Oh yes, sir. And that's another thing also is remember where you come from, because we always haven't had grocery stores available. We always haven't had all the commodities that we currently have. So remember where you come from and get back to nature, because looking at it realistically, I talk to people and I talk to some of the elders, and the elders will tell you they remember when they literally only went to the store for meat. And that's if if it was a bad hunting season. They bought no store-bought vegetables, no store-bought fruits. Everything was raised and grown right there where you could walk out. And that's why the people were rich, because they were rich in culture, they were rich in heritage, and they were rich in understanding the land. When you know how to raise the food, your money goes a lot longer, because you're not as dependent on the stores and their markups and a lot of the dead energy that goes in with it. Because food and plants need a positive source of energy. Yes, they do gain earth energy, but ultimately you have to be a friend to that animal and that plant just as you would want it to produce for you. So putting in your time, putting in pruning your fruit trees, not letting them grow completely wild, understanding. A lot of people, I know people who do regular growing and they grow their fruit trees. I'm one who's big on pruning and starting young so I can have the tree grow to where I want it to, and also when it's growing, be able to prune it down so the fruits are lower where I can reach them rather than the fruits going up too high. Then that takes away from the fruits that are lower because the water and the energy has to transfer so far. So pruning has become essential for me. I've learned it, I enjoy it, and I prune my trees every year now. But I used to let them grow wild before I could realize how much damage that actually did to not only the fruit, but the tree. And as you prune the tree, it inspires it to grow more fruit, bigger fruit. So remember, using that energy in a positive way, getting it out there, putting your hands in the soil and giving your energy, it'll be returned to you in more ways than one. And the taste of the food, if you ever get the chance, and these brothers can verify, when you grow your own food, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the energy and the positivity that comes back. It tastes so much better than store-bought food.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even food bought from the farmers markets where individuals raise, it just has so much of a better taste. Oh, exactly. And that's the truth. I do want to comment on something Henry W. said. You may not all find a tribe, but if you talk about the ancestors, remember who they are, what they were, and what they lived for. Because I don't really think they had grocery stores back in the day. They planted, harvested, they put the food out there, they grew it on their own, and they put energy into it. So don't forget where you came from. Everyone can want all these big fancy things, but leave me to the simple things. I will be just fine. And don't worry about your spell check. Trust me, you're all good. But most people's grandmothers, grandfathers, most people's elders, ask them how often they went to the grocery store. And the majority of them will tell you they didn't have to go very frequently. How many of them knew how to can food? How many of them knew how to grow foods, shuck corn, growing potatoes and sweet potatoes, being able to go out in your yard and pick them fresh from the ground? That's something I don't believe many people know how to do today. Cutting the eyes off a potato and learning how to sprout potatoes from the eyes that they have. Onions, regrowing your food. There's so much we could talk about. But getting into that, I try to avoid going too far off subject because this will turn into a 2-hour build, and I'm not trying to do that realistically. So Opie, what about as far as your experiences in general? Have you tried to regrow things like celery and onions, things like that from a small stalk that you cut?
I have. I haven't done it a lot, but I have tried it with some of the herbs. I know, like cilantro, different things like that. I've tried it with that have worked pretty well, but some of the bigger vegetables I haven't tried out yet, but I definitely plan to.
Oh yeah, dude. If you try it with like small plants, onions, green onions, stuff like that, you'll generally get a good yield. You can cut down celery, take it and replant it or grow it in a basket or a bucket. Now that's something good for people who don't have much space.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't have much space, I recommend if you buy celery stalks, onions, anything like that, give it a shot. Go ahead, cut it, put it in a little cup with some water, and watch how it grows its own root system and begins to sprout and starts to grow pretty much new life. It's wonderful.
Absolutely. And there's, I was going to say, there is, again, you can grow things in pretty much any kind of space that you have. So I know on one of your previous lives, we talked about, hanging gardens, the raised beds. That's since I don't have, a whole bunch of land space, that's what I normally use to grow in is the grow boxes and the raised beds. Um, we really got to get back to learning how to do these simple things that our ancestors did. All the skills and different trades that they had, and again, getting back to the tiny little space. If you're in an apartment, getting plant holders and different things to grow your stuff in. It's okay if they're all over the house or what, your apartment or whatever. At least you're growing your own food. You're making that actual attempt. But I love what I'm seeing on the screen, because that's the thing that I do. And then with you and Kudameo, you guys actually grow in your, the land that you have. So I mean, that's my goal. That's where I'm trying to get to. But yeah, man, this is wonderful.
Yeah, you can make simple little grow boxes. You can use, you don't need a lot of space, really. It depends also what you want to grow. Anu said it, make sure you grow things that you like. You don't want to just grow everything just for nothing, just to grow it. Make sure you're going to eat it. Make sure you're going to enjoy it. But yeah, you can do it. If you got the land, I mean, it could be anywhere, even in the inner city as you're seeing right now. You take advantage, practice. You never know.
What's cool too, Kudameo, is a lot of the cities do have these, spaces that, that are available for people to do community gardening.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you want to start, getting people in your community involved in this, this is definitely a way, or, just helping them getting started with it is a way.
Yeah.
Well, coming together as a community in general, there's so much land that's not used that can be utilized. See if you can contact your general areas or local parks, things that aren't being used, lands and properties that are just abandoned, and see if they'll let you grow gardens. Because by leading by example, and only by leading by example, can we expose the youth and everyone else to everything that needs. And also many people can take time to come in, because it's not a single person thing. Growing these big gardens isn't just a single person job where one person can go do it. It takes the energy of a community. And our ancestors came together as a community and they grew as a community. It wasn't just all put on one person. So get out there, see what you can do. There's so many things you can use. 2x4s, whether they're pressure treated or not, cinder blocks. The ancestors used more than just, they learned how to pile things. They learned how to build borders. They learned how to utilize different types of animal waste. They learned how to utilize fish, the bones, different things like that. Everything was used. So learning how to utilize that, come together as a community, because right now the world is so divided. And gardening is a way to show you, okay, now I'm going to take that little tangent I normally do and cut a really sharp left turn. Gardening reflects life. To me, it does. Gardening shows you everything that you're going to go through. Your good times, your bad times, your good days, your rainy days, your sunny days, your cloudy days. There's going to be things that get thrown at you that you feel like are going to break your roots, that feel like it's going to break a branch. There's certain times you feel like the soil and the fertilizer, and when I say fertilizer, I mean the BS of the world is just too much for you and is beating you down and is burning you up. But somehow these plants thrive. Understanding there's a proper balance. Once you get the proper balance in your life and in your garden and with the people around you, everything begins to balance. Companion planting, putting yourself in certain situations where certain soil will grow certain plants, whereas other soil will have trouble. That's just like us as people. People need to be in certain types of soil. If the soil has too much fertilizer, it'll burn them. So you can't have too much BS in your life. If the soil doesn't have proper amendments, proper balances, proper pH, proper calcium, the different things that come with our life. So your garden is a reflection of yourself and your life and the things that you do, having time to spend. Companion planting. You can plant things that protect each other and grow off of each other, just like your friends, your companions, the people who are around you, the people who love you and the people who bless you. So literally your garden it's almost a reflection of your life. So be sure to balance yourself like you would balance your garden, bringing the community in, having strong roots, being standing for something, like actually standing for something and, burying your roots. And when I say your roots, I mean your family, your children, the place you're going to be at, actually being able to sit down and look, and that will reflect life and everything about it.
And if I could, Anu, I wanted to kind of latch on to that for a minute as well. And also, look at the plants as an example. I mean, they have gone through so much in this environment. I don't want to get too crazy with it, but you all know where I'm going with this. But the environment, the air, all of the toxicness of this world has, continuously tried to penetrate, our plants and this earth, and they still thrive no matter what. So, use them as an example of how to, overcome all these adversities that are being thrown at us.
And that's exactly what it is. Overcoming adversity, like you said, just like the plants do. Overcoming adversity and finding who you really are. And also, piggybacking off that, plants that are treated properly produce wonderful fruit. You can tell who takes care. And they always say you can always tell the tree by the fruits. Well, how much care you put into that tree, how much time, the soil, you can figure out the preparations and what's right and wrong based off of how good like the fruits are, how sweet the fruits are. When you get bitter fruits off of a tree, something wasn't right. Something wasn't properly set up there. So it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't taste right. Those foods just aren't right for you. So look at life and use gardening and everything around you as a reflection of who and what you are. I know I may be going, like I said, a little left, but looking back and reading the stories that I generally like read and go over, the ancestors had stories for types of trees, types of animals, types of birds. They had respect, and they learned that each thing was an intricate part of life, and that reflected different parts of life and how to value and balance yourself. That is what really made me look and inside myself and externally and look at everything around me. Because so often do we look and not understand what's going on behind the scenes. And when I say that, I mean nobody knows that the worm is under the soil and it's constantly breaking through and it's loosening up the soil and it's aerating the soil. Just because we don't see the worm doesn't mean it's not there. Just like because you don't see certain plants doesn't mean they're not there. It's everything has to work in proper balance in order for plants to flourish and produce good fruits. And then from there, you know, everything works this way. You brothers got something to build on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in this. I've seen it. I've put music to my plants when their leaves are hanging down, and then I can come back and after playing music for a while, you come back and you see their leaves are all up, standing up. They feel the frequency. It's just like another living being, you know, as yourself. We're all connected. It's kind of put in the movie. What you call that movie? Um, where they go to the other planet. I forgot already. Avatar. So you know how they connect to that tree and everything, and the plants and the animals. As we're all connected, and that's what I was saying. Some people, maybe you don't know. Like you may not have grown before, but you might have that love and frequency that the plants feel, and they'll give you fruit. You know, they'll give you. You treat them good, they treat you good.
Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, plants do feel pain. Looking at the research he just put up there. You know, Cody Mail, I know you can build off that one. Go ahead and drop some of them lines for me, brother.
Oh no, yeah, they. I mean, you can tell. See, we have a thing here. Like when we want to make trees fruit or something fruit, it's bad. Like it was my grandparents. It was funny, you know. All the elder people, they would grab a belt and like hit it like as a child, like it's like it's getting beaten, like like give fruit. You talk to and give fruit, and believe it or not, it starts giving fruit. Or they'll put a nail through it or a piece of wire through it and tie it really tight. When the plant thinks or the tree thinks you're gonna cut it off, so it wants to survive, so it's gonna fruit, so it can spread its seeds, so the seeds can fall and create more life and continue. So it is a thing. You don't have to beat it though. That was just an old school fashion way, you know. I don't know. It was funny, but I don't do that. I just go and put my hands on it. I feel like I have an aura. The plant or tree has an aura, and we connect. And they feel, they vibe. You know, when you're giving them food, when the water, enough water, everything. When you're neglecting it, they get sad. They die. You know, it's you can try it yourself. You'll see. Some people have a hard time just having even house plants, normal plants in the house. They're always dying, and it has something to do with that. You know, it's not happy about something. There's something going on that the plants aren't happy. They're not feeling the vibe. You know, maybe the air, the oxygen levels. Maybe it's too much radiation inside, too much technology. You know, so maybe it's negative environment, and they're not feeling it. Maybe they get not enough light, and you think it's fine. You're neglecting it. The water maybe too dirty that you're giving it. You're giving it tap water, maybe you want filter water. You know, things like that. So that's just from my experience.
Opie, you want to build, my friend? I know you got some knowledge to drop on that too. I just don't want to go on a tangent, so I'm gonna give y'all
No,
opportunity.
you good, brother.
Now
I
build
was
on them, my
gonna
friend.
Yeah, I mean, um, I definitely agree with. I know when I usually plant, the first thing I'll usually do is when I put my soil down. I'll put my hands in it I'll say some words to the creator to, thank you for, giving me another growing season and, uh, asking to be blessed with a, successful crop. And, again, having that positive vibe with your plants and taking care of them definitely goes a long way. And I relinquish the mic.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, I didn't want to cut in and go on a tangent, so I want to give y'all some time. But yeah, as far as like sharing your energy with the plants and pruning the plants and understanding that they do feel pain, but they also understand you. They understand your needs. They understand your well-being. Because they can't speak doesn't mean they're not alive. And people generally tend to overlook how alive these plants really are. These plants, there you go, they make you feel better. Many of these plants have general benefits. These plants benefit you in ways you really don't know. Now, please, if you own pets, check what plants are toxic or poisonous to your pets, only because this is something you should know before buying. I'm not going to be responsible for anyone's cat getting sick and or dog. So I will put up my my disclaimer right there. But yeah, being able to sit down and enjoy, and like they were talking about, just exchange energies and understand your plants, because we normally look at humans or pets and we're like, oh, okay, those are family. But no, those trees out there, that's family too. Because without those trees, we don't exist. Humans have gotten to the point of a level of arrogance where we believe that the earth actually needs us to exist. It really doesn't. So being able to humble yourself and understand that you exist within nature and you are not separate from nature, but part of nature, that's when you humble yourself and you are able to understand how the earth works. And I'm not trying to say this like in a mean way, but we really have to relax and breathe and understand that we can rely not only on humans, but we can rely on our plants to understand our pain, even though that they can't speak back. Don't negate the fact that they're there. So, they've always been big on, also learn air pruning. Air pruning is wonderful. If you cannot grow in the ground, you can grow fruit trees in laundry baskets. I've done it before. Or 5-gallon buckets. I currently have 2 plum trees. I'm testing. They're growing out of 5-gallon buckets, and I have been growing apple trees out of half 55-gallon drums. If you cut those in half, put the soil in, and understanding the warmth from the barrel actually makes the tree's fruit faster. So if you want to speed up the fruiting or you want to speed up the growth of a plant, go ahead, put it in a barrel, a drum, a 5-gallon bucket, whatever you want. Let the soil heat up. As the soil heats up, you can actually trick the plant into thinking it's further into the season than it is. And as it's doing that, transfer the plant only at nighttime and possibly towards the new moon or the full moon, only because they're a couple days apart. But you generally want to plant under a full moon. Like Cody Mayo has the picture. That's called air pruning. Air pruning strengthens the roots and pulls the roots back. But as I see, they have a dampening system underneath it. And that is pretty much an automatic watering system where the roots go down underneath and they continue to pull water. And yes, Miss Hope, heat up, because the sun has to heat up so much soil on the ground and underneath the ground. There's a huge area that has to be heated up, so it heats up slowly. If you use a 55-gallon drum, depending on the plant or the tree, when it heats up, it actually activates the tree to grow faster.
Yeah.
and retains moisture too. So
Yeah. Certain since certain a lot of plants are seasonal actually, if you plant a specific time of the year, it might fruit faster or slower depending on what time of the year you planted it. A lot of the growers, a lot of the green thumbers out there know what I'm talking about, and you can make your, like the new saying, depending also on the light that you give it. If you give it a certain amount of light for a couple of months and then you change that, it'll start fruiting because it'll think winter's coming as the days get darker, right? Less light, less sunlight, so it believes that winter's coming. So yeah, plants are pretty actually amazing when you learn all these things. You learn how to control them like that.
oh, definitely. And then learning what fertilizer you need, emollients. If you live near, I live right down the street from a river, so every now and then for certain plants, I'll go take a couple 5-gallon buckets, fill them up with river water, and bring it back because it has fish emollients, minerals from the rocks.
Yep.
It makes a huge difference in what type of water you use. Because city water, you got to remember, if it has fluoride in it when we drink it, that doesn't change the fact that it has all those chemicals
Yeah.
and toxins when they drink it. So
Yep.
if it's legal in your state, preferably get a rain catching system. Once again, if it's legal in your state, rain catching systems are phenomenal. The water is wonderful, and it's some of the purest water you're going to get. Depending on your location, there's certain areas that I don't know. There's certain areas that are pretty toxic air. But remember, gardening is art. It's a form of art. It imitates life. So continue to do that. Continue to garden. Continue to have hope. Because that's what builds, is actually having hope. And knowing that that garden could just do something for the next generation. Oh, Hudimeo, if you could look up aquaponics, please. That's something I want to touch on before we get off of here, because I wasn't trying to be on too long. Aquaponics is using fish to grow. Yeah, it's aquaponics, AQUA ponics. It's actually pretty cool. Some places have actually been enacting aquaponics. And aquaponics is generally you have fish. The fish waste gets pulled into the tanks. The tanks clear out the fish waste, which turns into nitrates and nutrients. And then when the water's clean, just drop back into the fish tanks. It's a cycle. You can do it. Of course, the majority of them do need pumps, but you can make a gravity fed. I used to raise tilapia. Tilapia, I just raised them strictly for, I was attempting aquaponics, and we would take the fish water and we would spray it on the garden. And then, some family, they would come get it. And then that was just my test. I didn't want to get a different form of fish and not be able to, have them survive. So ultimately began to invest in aquaponics. And if you want to do a version of aquaponics where you don't raise tilapia, you can use goldfish. You can use almost any type of fish. If you want to use pet fish and have a koi pond, you can have koi. And it just goes up. And as you look under the plants on there, you'll see something is called the grow bed. The grow bed has a medium. The medium isn't something, generally you can do lava rock. You can do, it's actually called grow bed medium. You don't want to put dirt in there because then you'll suffocate the roots. Once you do that, you'll notice the plants explode because of all the fertilizer going in, and it's in a liquid form, so the plants are able to pull the nutrients and everything from that. You can also grow specific plants. There's one called duckweed. Duckweed grows really good. and you can put that in and the fish will eat off of that. So it becomes almost a self-sustaining system, except for the little bit of electricity from the pump that you need to pump the water. So there's a world, whatever your imagination can put together, there is a world of wonderful things that can be done with gardening. It just depends on your resources, your knowledge. And right now, like I said, there is a plethora of information out there, a plethora that people can go to and learn, utilize it. And you wouldn't believe the things you can actually do. I know people who grow potatoes out of old used tires. There's something called trash can potatoes. You can actually grow potatoes in trash cans. You can grow potatoes in oh my goodness, totes. So there's so much you can do if we just utilize what we have in front of us. And it would cut down on the waste. It would cut down on the emissions. It would cut down on a lot. So it's one of those things where, you know, ultimately just learn and continue to grow, you know, as your garden does. You brothers got anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, just everything you're saying, you know, it's a better world with more plants, you know. The more we plant, I think it would be a better world. And I think it would help a lot of people, you know, with other things, keeping their mind in a different thing, you know, less worried about if you got to pay a bill or if you got to go to work tomorrow, if you got to do this, I got to do that. You know, it's fun. You know, I recommend it for therapy as well.
And I was gonna say, you know, let's you know, we want to start to really try to back up off of this system as much as we can. You know, I know we can't completely get away from it, but you know, growing your own food, gardening is a great start.
Oh, definitely. And yeah, the biggest thing is prepare for the future. We don't know what it holds, but it's definitely better to have and not need than need and not have. So we've been on for a little over an hour. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of cut this one right now. You know, I want to thank everybody for coming out. Everybody has definitely been a blessing. You brothers got something? We'll start with Opie Mija. You got anything you want to say before we shut down shop?
Yeah, I wanted to say I appreciate everyone out in the chat for being here, and appreciate both of you brothers for doing this. And don't forget, everybody, get a hold of me about the seed trade program. Email me at opmiha@iconicamericanindians.com. Thank you, brothers. Peace.
You know, I just want to, it's a great build. You know, keep doing your thing with your videos. Support Brother New. You know, he's got a lot of good ideas, and this is very worth it right now. All right, and you know, just all the advice, all the info he's presenting now, don't take it for granted. You know, make sure if you like to practice it, do it. You know, don't wait. Try it out, and you know, be blessed.
Oh, definitely. And like I said, just continue on, continue to understand there's a balance, because everything was made as a balance. What would be the chances that we would breathe out carbon dioxide, the same thing that plants breathe in, and they exchange, give us back exactly what we need? Fresh air, oxygen. So if you think realistically, we can't survive. Well, they don't need us, but we do need them. So we have to take care of them, because animals also breathe out carbon dioxide. But yeah. Now, one thing I will mention is I am going to continue doing videos on prepping, only because I feel like the time is right. I'm definitely going to continue to do videos with different forms of stories. I'm going to become a little more active as I gain more time, only because I believe the time is now. We are on the verge of something bigger than what we know, something huge. I'm not going to say what it is, but I believe that we came into this knowledge. Some people have known it from childhood. Some of our grandparents have known it. The knowledge of hunting, fishing, and the earth. We have to get back to that. If we do not, and we continue to stay self-reliant on this system, they control you. And when I say they, I mean the grocery stores. We'll keep it at that. I'm not trying to get flagged or the video taken down. But whoever controls your food and your water controls your livelihood and your life. So think about that for 2 seconds. And are you willing to give that kind of power to somebody else? Now, also, I'm going to start, as I prep, I'm going to start sharing my preps with everyone as far as doing videos on certain things that I do. The brothers and a couple people actually told me to, because they know that I'm out there dealing with the chickens, how I split wood, cut my firewood down, easy tips and tricks, some of the prepper stuff that I have actually showing it. So I figure, I rock with it. So for those who want to stick around, feel free to go ahead and keep up with the videos. I'm going to continue to post them, and I'll post them more frequently on how to prep, what to look for, how to do certain things. I'm not saying my way is correct, but I do things that make it easier on myself. Also, for those who are with it, if those who want to donate, I do have a Cash App, only because I'm going to continue to prep, and everything I prep with, it all comes out of pocket. Like, I don't get a sponsor or anything like that. So when I buy these things, it's all on me, so when I grab certain camping stoves, I'm going to be doing one. Cootie Mayo, he looked out. My man sent me a multi-tool he wanted me to check out and review. So I'm definitely going to review that. So be expecting that. So yeah, just keep it up. Y'all stay blessed. I want to thank everybody for coming out, and it's not necessary to donate or anything like that. So please don't feel like that. I'm just saying, I'm still going to drop this knowledge one way or another, because I love everybody out there and I believe we need to be ready. But yeah, what we definitely have to do is just be prepared, come together, unify, and understand what's going on. So everybody stay blessed, enjoy, and honestly stay out of trouble. Remember, gardening, being able to exchange that energy, that therapy, it's a wonderful thing. So, good night, stay blessed, and just understand, humble yourself, and understand you are a part of nature, not separate from it. So on that note, y'all will be seeing me a lot more often. So I'm gonna go ahead and chuck some deuces, and I catch y'all. Everybody have a blessed night, and we'll call it quits from there. So hope y'all enjoyed the build. My brother Cootie Mayo, thank you for coming on. It's always a blessing, always a wonderful help. Opie Mihai, thank you for coming on. Once again, my brother, you always a blessing, always a help. I thank everybody. So yeah, I thank all y'all. And we're gonna build on this again. But I still gotta do the UFO Friday. I had some stuff pop up last week, but we're gonna get on that tomorrow. So be expecting it. UFO Fridays. All right, I'll holler at y'all.